So just how much will this downturn in manufacturing factor into the US presidential election? Well, let's look into that with Sourabh Gupta, a senior Asia-Pacific International Relations Policy Specialist at the Institute for China-American Studies. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
So as we know, obviously, bringing back US manufacturing and jobs was something of a mantra for President Trump. But how does the current state of manufacturing and jobs compare to what he was promising?
You know, he's in real jeopardy because he talked about bringing manufacturing back, and it's those states which put him over the line, even though he lost the popular vote. And now on his key that he would bring jobs back to those states and to those districts, he's just not been able to deliver, and this is going to hurt him big time.
And there have been some factors, as we mentioned, the trade war, and obviously he's putting a lot of pressure, though, still on U.S. manufacturers to really bring. Would you say that his efforts and the way he's approaching trade has helped or hurt the manufacturing industry?
Oh, it has hurt it terribly. I mean, it's just the uncertainty of whether you make investments. That's what manufacturers think about all the time. And with this huge uncertainty over the past year and a half on the trade war, they've just not been able to make the investments here, there, or anywhere, frankly. And that's why not just in America, but the global environment has turned cold. On top of that, you know, we have these steel tariffs, aluminum tariffs. These are upstream industries which flow into things like automobiles and other items. So if you're going to have tariffs on those and be protectionist out there, the impact is going to be felt downstream, and it is being felt downstream.
And that's something sometimes people don't pay attention to. Seeing sort of the tariffs in one area, they don't always translate that into the trickle-down effect that you mentioned. And one of the things that we also tend to look at in manufacturing, I know people that phrase, oh, people are taking my jobs. But what about technology? You have AI, you have automation. How is that changing the industry?
I think that's a great question. You know, yes, the US is going through a cyclical downturn in terms of manufacturing sentiment, and as you talked about, in terms leading indicators showing manufacturing contracting. But here's the important point. The trend line of US manufacturing value added for the last 80 years has the manufacturing sector today continues on that trend line. So in terms of manufacturing value added, America is doing just as great as it always was, and it is really a superpower manufacturer, frankly. It is in the area of employment in the manufacturing sector, non-farm employment as a percentage of overall employment. It is in that area that that has suffered, and it has suffered because of automation. And yes, globalization has been a factor, but it is automation primarily which has impacted. And therefore, the social contract needs to be repaired in this country so that employees can transition and become the workers for the future industries of tomorrow. And this sort of protectionism that Trump has kind of brought forth has just sort of held that process back instead of incentivizing it.
Because it is a lot of these repetitive industries that are ones that are the first to get automated. So a lot of employers, they're looking for these high-skilled workers, whether they're from the US or from abroad. What sort of investments are we seeing then in terms of initiatives or training to sort of get these other people up to speed for the jobs of the future in manufacturing?
It's just been so unfortunate that he has sold protectionism. You know, that voter base which he has might not see a president who is as supportive of their personal lives and their hopes and aspirations for quite some time. The Democrats are not going to be there, even though the Democrats are very working class based in terms of their voter base. They understand also the reality of today's manufacturing and the reality of making those adjustments. Mr. Trump was in a position to sell this to his electorate, but he has not done so. And frankly, the sort of boom-bust type of economic operation that we have out here with the state of the economy not really well regulated, you know, it's at the time of every bust is when jobs really leave. And you want to have the economy managed on a seamless basis so that you don't have a kind of a boom-bust scenario. And if we do have one going forward, in part because of the trade war and the uncertainty it has created, that's just going to lead to more departures and hurt for a lot of unfortunate people, frankly.
You certainly hate to see that. Thank you so much, as always. Sourabh Gupta there, Senior Asia-Pacific International Relations Policy Specialist at the Institute for China-American Studies. Thank you.
Thank you.